Hello, I'm Kevin Shuker and this is HealthVox. We're going to be looking at live blood analysis. On the 28th day of my spring 40-day cleanse, I spent some time with Rick Panson and we actually looked at my blood and see the effect of doing a master cleanse for 4 weeks. We just simply take one drop of blood and that blood is put onto a slide, and first we look at it live and you'll be able to see all the red blood cells moving around and all bacteria and fungus that may be in the blood. And then secondly, we look at that same drop of blood as it dries. And as it dries, it reveals information as to the status of our bodies. And we hope you find it very interesting, and I think the images are going to be very powerful. With live blood analysis, we just take one drop of blood and it's placed on a microscope slide and then placed under the microscope, and then we hook it up to the computer and we get to see what it looks like on a computer screen. So here we have Rick Panson and he's going to be describing live blood analysis.
Coming in, here they come, red blood cells.
Oh, here we go, look at that.
Look at those beauties. Yeah. You drinking any plain water?
No, just lemonade.
Just lemonade, huh?
Yeah.
Why not just plain water sometimes?
Okay.
I gave you plain water, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that, a little dehydrated. So that's red blood cells?
Those are the red blood cells with a nice, healthy little reflective lipid coating on them. We can take this out of the way. Amoeba moving so slowly through the terrain. That's a white blood cell.
No, it's a white blood cell, huh?
Yeah, neutrophil to be exact.
Okay.
It's a neutrophil. And it's got a nice, something very bright in its, what perceived to be its tail section, if we're going to perceive that to be its mouth, because that's the direction it's heading.
Okay.
Hi. Hi,
so what's that at the end there, at his tail?
Well, I don't know. It's glowing like it might have picked up a crystal, an acid crystal.
Oh yeah.
Which is rare to see in a neutrophil. Blood cells, to be hydrated properly, Kevin, would have 1.1 pressure inside to 1 out here.
Okay.
And they would all be perfectly round.
Okay. So it's still a little dehydrated still.
Yeah, yeah, and the ones with the little white centers in them are actually starting to ferment the sugar.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a beautiful neutrophil streaming through the terrain there, doing its cleanup job. Now, this over here is a little bit of a mold and fungal colony.
Okay.
So where you see those, you also can see around the outside edge of it, it's crystallized urine.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's a uropathy kind of guy.
Yeah.
Likes to, pee and live in its own urine.
That's me.
No, that's the fungal colony. And then what's happening is you can see this red blood cell right next to it.
Yeah.
These two colonies, fungal and mold. The terrain is so acidic that this red blood cell is actually beginning its biological transformation into a bacterial form, because its microzyma wants to live, but right in this immediate area it's very acidic. So this red blood cell is
mutating.
Mutating, exactly. Now
Okay.
what we see here with the neutrophil is nice, because the neutrophil is going to clean this red blood cell out, which is one of the things it does. It's already attached to this one here.
Yeah.
Just looks like
Look
it's
at that.
letting go of it.
Yeah.
And it hooks up like a vacuum cleaner and sucks bacteria and fungal, whatever's there, waste products right out of it. You know, the red blood cells being the carriers of the good stuff as well as the bad stuff. But right up here, this little bright white,
Yeah.
yeast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Aberration.
This
You
one
see
here?
This yeast.
Yeah.
This is fungus and mold. And
Over
there's a
here.
certain amount when you're starting to see the white centers, because you like to not see the white centers in an ideal situation. By the shapes of them is another way that I can tell on the hydration level. Although it's not chronically dehydrated, or else they'd all be stacked and chaining.
Yeah, I remember
And,
that from last time.
Right. Their hydration, I don't know of any substitute for, just good pure water.
Okay.
No matter what kind of protocol we're on,
Right.
it never hurts. And I don't particularly like distilled water or reverse osmosis water because there's no mineral content to that. So,
Okay.
if I were to have those kinds of waters, I would definitely add a little pinch of salt or baking soda or lemon or something.
So they look better.
Strong, robust ones that have
Right.
just been produced, all the way to the little old richety, crackety ones that are ready to be disintegrated and fall apart,
Yeah.
and everything in between. So now, typically, when you have this big size difference, you got a macrocyte here that's larger than normal, and you got a microcyte here which is a little smaller than normal. That has to do with acidity as well. It's the same phenomenon.
Okay.
If we read the actual description. Macrocytes, microcytes, and ovocytes. Acinocytosis. Red blood cells smaller or larger than normal or different shapes than normal round indicates the ingestion of an excessive amount of overacidic food and drinks, which causes a deficiency in the sodium bicarbonate in the alkali glands, the
Okay.
salivary glands, and your pancreas. So you got some pretty significant colonies here.
Okay.
I mean, between the yeast, which is white,
Yeah.
and the fungal and mold colony there, that's a good-sized colony.
Okay.
And there's a little bacteria, the ball that's floating by over here, you see them?
Yeah.
Earlier, when we saw the same thing down here, you've got a little bit of yeast, a little bit of bacteria, mold, and fungus, all in a nice big colony here. No red blood cells, and it's surrounded by very good-looking red blood cells.
Okay. Yeah.
These are, now we've got 3 neutrophils in this frame that are the blood cells that are moving,
Yeah.
cleaning up waste, and you got a big pile of garbage up here next to this. This is a
Okay.
neutrophil over here, and this
It's
is a
coming
big
in to
pile of
clean it up.
garbage. Doesn't mean that it's not able to do its job immunity-wise, but hydrating more will make them a little bit faster moving.
Okay.
And what is there that's, radiant great health in terms of what's perceived to be great health?
Yeah.
It's a shame I don't have anything bacteriologically rich like peanuts. I probably have some pistachios, though. That would be fun. See what happens if you eat some pistachios.
Oh yeah, they're fully
raw.
loaded.
In general, you get a bad one now and again.
Yeah.
Then we can just pick out the bad ones for you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, peanuts are notoriously bad.
Yeah.
But there's a red blood cell that's about to burp up, spit out one of these yeast balls.
Oh, okay. So it ferments inside, and then they cough it out.
Sometimes. Sometimes they're capable of popping it right out of their system. It's actually not the red blood cell that pops the yeast out. It's the yeast that wants out of the red blood cell.
Oh, okay.
And it seems to reject the red blood cell. There's not enough blood sugar there. Not enough.
Okay.
It's almost like it's sucked it dry.
Right.
Now it wants more blood sugar, so it's going to go find it.
Okay.
I don't know what it is in the biological part of your, blood cell's membrane that keeps it from allowing more blood sugars into the cell. And that stacking and chaining again.
Yeah.
How many liters of your goop are you drinking? The lemonade.
Yeah, generally like a pint every hour to 2 hours.
getting plenty of fluids.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and it's with agave? Is that what you
Yeah.
told me?
Yep.
And how are you feeling?
Fine.
It'd be interesting to see what happens to the fibrin when you go off of that diet onto something else.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing a lot of fibrin wherever I go, all those
Yeah.
strands. It looks, you know, a little bit of hairiness in there, which is really bacterial.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Ooh, that's a good shot.
Oh, there. Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that. That's a nice colony, because
Yeah.
what you got there is a fibrin tree, and its focal point is that little ball of yeast.
Yep.
And when you have the fibrin nets, which we've seen, and fibrin trees, an advanced stage of fibrin organization associated with a focal point of yeast or bacteria is an intelligent protective mechanism against the janitorial effects of the white blood cells, the garbage collectors.
Okay.
Also indicates a high level of latent tissue acidosis.
Okay.
Are you checking your pH at all?
No.
No. Don't care.
No. So even that, still a little acid, still a little sugar.
Well, I think you're going to be acid as long as you're doing your sugar. Absolutely.
Any type of sugar. Right?
Yes, honey, agave,
Yeah.
stevia might be a little bit less. Agave is a little bit less, obviously, in terms of its glycemic index, but in terms of its actual chemistry, biochemistry is what we're studying here.
Yeah.
It's going to be perceived as the same thing, and if you're taking that in with no other nutrients, that's where I'm going to err and say, I really think chlorophyll is the best cleanser.
Right.
That wheatgrass juice you did, and doing chlorophyll-rich foods, it's kind of interesting that chlorophyll can give us such a terrific grass stain on our little pants and
Right.
stuff when we're out there in the fields, but what a wonderful cleanser it is on a biological level, probably more powerful than lemon juice. The lemons that you're doing in your cleanser are quite powerful in terms of cleansing.
Yeah.
So you've got this balance going on of the lemons and the sugars.
Yeah.
So
Totally with you.
one balances out the other to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
it continues to feed the yeast, and there's a tremendous pool of urine here.
Yeah.
Look at it. So that colony's been in your blood for quite some
Quite
time.
some time, yeah. By quite some time, what do you mean? You mean days, weeks, or months, or is it?
I would think that it's been living there for months.
Okay.
And that's quite common. That's not something that's uncommon, but
Yeah.
when you have that type of life form, they generally are something that's coming back in through your digestive system that
Okay.
would be better suited to stay in your digestive system than in your blood.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'm all for cleansing on a regular basis, and that can be done through your dietary cleanse, although I'll recommend that you go on a vegetable juice smoothie type of cleanse that gives you lots of nutritional stuff and very low glycemic, low sugar
Yeah.
content.
Okay.
And I'm all for using those products like Oxymag,
Yeah, yeah.
especially while
Yeah,
you're
that's what I've
cleansing.
been using, yeah.
When was the last time you did it? Comes out of an ionizer into that little test tube. And these are pH drops. It'll tell you what the pH of the water is by color. So we can see that the pH of the water that I'm drinking, which you know because we tested it with the digital pH test meter, it's 10.5. It's off the chart
Right.
in terms of its alkalinity.
Okay.
Now, oh, lost my straw. We're going to blow a little air in here. The air that I'm going to blow in here is going to be carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Carbon dioxide and water makes carbonic acid. Watch the color.
Very cool.
It's a long time.
Yeah, but you've gone from 10.5 to 5.
That quickly.
Now, each one of these is 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000,
Okay.
over 100,000 times change.
Wow.
Now, think about this. It's really simple. Every cell in your body takes in oxygen and gives off carbon dioxide in the presence of water.
Okay. Yeah.
So where's the carbonic acid?
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Sure.
It's the blood's job to pull it from there and bring it to the lungs where it can be exhaled.
Okay.
Carbon dioxide is the biggest acid you excrete every day through your lungs.
Sure.
And neutralizing it, or trying to become, can you be too alkaline? Hardly. I mean, you know, the other ways of getting more alkaline, and I don't think there's any substitute for rigorous exercise
Right.
to release toxins and pull things out, especially while you're cleansing too. But that being the case, I think that demonstration shows you that you know, well, what's happening while I'm trying to alkalize? I'm trying to alkalize them. Well, you can't alkalize if you're taking in agave as your source of fuel,
Okay.
because it's acidic, it's acid forming,
Yeah.
digestively. But will it be cleansing? Yeah, absolutely, it'll be cleansing too,
Right.
because by osmosis, what do your cells have? Your cells have fluids, lemon juice, agave, so they have the sugars to live on. Your brain needs the blood sugar.
Sure.
Chlorophyll is a blood sugar too. So let's understand. I just took carbon dioxide and water, and what did I come up with? Carbonic acid. This little sunflower takes carbon dioxide and water, and in the presence of sunlight, called photosynthesis, it creates chlorophyll. CO2 and water can either create carbonic acid or chlorophyll. Now, we can't figure out as human beings how plants do this. We just know to call it photosynthesis.
Right.
But the chemical reaction of taking water and carbon dioxide and turning it into chlorophyll, which is alkaline, and that is a sugar. All chlorophyll is a sugar. It's all C6H12O6, which is essentially a sugar. And that sugar can then go produce an avocado, a watermelon, a green pepper, or any other plant, including an oak tree, because that's the blood of the plant. So depending on the genetics in that plant, that blood of the plant, which is chlorophyll, will produce whatever that genetics is telling it to produce.
Sure.
Some is very, very sweet, and then you have your high sugar fruits. Some is much less sweet, but wheatgrass is chlorophyll. When you crush the wheatgrass and you do that, you're essentially taking into your body a sugar. But it doesn't, you know, wheatgrass tastes sweet. You had some
Sure.
wheatgrass earlier, and whether it's tray grown or it's field grown, it still has a sweetness to it. And I think when you start to change your palate, as Americans, we've got this palate that's so accustomed to high sugar flavors, 186 pounds of sugar per person per year as of 1996, and that's up from 10 pounds of sugar per person per year 100 years earlier than that. When we did everything very natural, we had to home make everything back in the 1890s.
Sure.
Just think back, we didn't have this massive transportation thing. We walked 14 to 18 miles a day as on an average. We ate very much local, what was there, and it was mostly cold, raw. We didn't want to take a lot of logs to stoke our fireplace to make flames happen. Now we just go to the gas range, there's the oven, it's on, electric, it's on. We don't walk as much, we don't exercise, so we don't get all of this stuff going like it used to.
Sure.
And we're not into, most Americans, I think you're the exceptions in this room, most Americans are not a plant-based diet.
Some American.
Well, it's a pop cultural thing that's worldwide too. There are a lot of people in the world that are not in that agricultural diet of plant-based foods, and that I think is a huge disgrace. It's certainly taken its toll on our health.
I agree.
And the problem is that this type of refined sugars and these type of foods causes acidosis, which then facilitates bacterial growth, which is
Just like a fish would be in its little swimming tank. If I had a little fish tank over here, and that fish would be your cell, and as your cell is bathed in the fluids of the fish tank, that cell actually swims along and it eats a little something, and it pees and poops in its tank, and as it pees and poops in its tank, that waste product is generally going to be ammonia. And if you let that fish tank continue to do that, the acidity starts to rise, and it gets more and more acidic, and the next thing you know, out of nowhere, algae starts to grow. Where did the algae come from? what was it, algae spores in the middle of Nebraska where there's no, you know, because it doesn't matter where your fish tank is or your swimming pool, same thing, that body of water, as it becomes more acidic, the natural bacteria, molds, fungus, and yeasts, which are in our atmosphere all over the place all the time, will now start to rule the day. And they say, this is an ideal environment for me, let me reproduce prolifically. And then what do? You test the pH. You say, oh, my little fish is swimming a little bit crooked. Let me put some pH materials in there, drop it, and your pH goes up into the alkaline range again, and all of the algae dies because it cannot survive in an alkaline state. So then you scrape the sides of your fish tank with your little razor scraper, and next thing you know, the water's crystal clear again.
Yeah.
Instead of cloudy and full of these life forms that are growing. And the same thing is happening on you on a cellular level. All of us, all the time. What it comes down to is your body is this great regulator, the balancing act. And as your body's constantly doing this, you don't have to think about it. It's part of that 2 million bits of information per second that are taking place without you noticing it, as opposed to the 40 bits of information a second that you are actually aware of, kinesthetically, visually, auditorily, olfactory, and gastronomically. Yeah, what's going on? So anyway, looks pretty good. When you see this nice dark fibrin here, dark fibrin lines in there and the nice bright red, that's perfect there. You can't ask for anything better than that. When I see a little bit of this pooling out here, and it's not throughout the sample, you notice there's no pooling on that side of the sample. There's no pooling on the top of the sample except for right out here on the very edge.
Okay.
You have any skin challenges going on?
Not that I'm aware of.
Typically, that's out in that region.
Oh yeah.
And then as we come down in here, there's a little bit of pooling. It's actually called polymerized protein pools, but I use the metaphor that where the pools are, where acids are affecting you, and some of this is in your lung, and some of it is in your lymphatic. And lung, well, you live in New York City. Don't expect it to not show some lung stress, because no matter what you do with your detox, you're still breathing the air that comes from across the country in New Jersey, and the bus fumes and everything else will be a little challenge. But it's, look at the second drop, and this looks a lot better now. This darkness in the center and that little teeny white dot, that's the biggest white dot, is indicative of a little bit of liver, and the darkness in the center is your digestive system, colon.
Is it like something that's been there for a while, or is it something that...
No, I would.
I haven't really had a bowel movement today, even though...
Right. No, I would suspect that dry blood is going